Somebody's had a change of mind. So good afternoon. Thank you for coming along. My name is Mark Baker. You've got a pair of Marks actually today, so two for the price of one. I work at Neo4j. I'm part of the Aura platform, and I'm a product manager there, so helping build Aura for next generation. Also with me is Mark Andrews.
Hey everybody, Mark Andrews. I work in professional services for Neo4j.
So yeah, I help sort of design and build the products, and Mark actually makes them work for real with real customers. So a lot of what I have is conceptual, and he has his real world. So he'll keep me honest during this presentation. Recently we had a discussion inside Neo4j, which was when we talk about Aura being cloud and then on-prem use cases, which is a bit of a misnomer because well over 50% of our installations that are on-prem are actually in cloud, right? So they're generally in AWS or Azure, some in Google too. And so, and that was really what kind of prompted this talk is just as we were saying, just in the sort of preamble whilst we were waiting for people to come in, lots of people want to get going. They're going to be the first place that they try Neo4j. And it's easy to get going. It's also easy to make mistakes that are hard to back out from when you get to a certain point, right? So it can be costly. And so really the purpose of this talk was to say, there we go, that works good, was that when you go into cloud, right, there's many different options. There's many different ways that you can do things, right? And so really we want to try and you know, choice is a good thing. You just look at AWS and it's got loads of different ways of doing things, getting to a certain place. But it also makes for hard decision making that could also be very, very confusing. So what we wanted to do in this talk was try and show you, okay, let's break some of those choices down and understand, depending on what your use case is and where you want to go, what the right direction is. So let's start with, like, where do most people start when they think, what do I want to do with Neo4j, right? I want to do Neo4j in AWS. How do I do it? So you typically go to Google, right? But if we're AWS people, right, we're comfortable in the AWS environment, we would probably go to the console, right? Where most people start on their cloud journey. And so I can think, well, let's go and have a look at these services. And wow, there's a lot of services there, right? There's over 200 different services, very easy to, where do I start looking? So have a look under databases. Don't see Neo4j, nothing that's getting my fancy here, but I can also then go and search in the console, right? Just straight up. And there I get a number of different entries, right? So some blogs that are talking about technologies I'm not particularly interested in, because I want Neo4j. But I then start to get down towards the bottom and I think, okay, well, maybe these things, right? Marketplace, maybe marketplace is where I go, right? Is that the right choice for me? I don't really know, right? Because the right choice for me is based on what I want to do. And actually, that's sort of arguably the hardest question to answer, right? When you know what you want to do, then finding the solution is easy. But when you're not quite sure, you just say, I want to try, right? I want to get started with Neo4j. Is it eventually going to be production? A whole different sets of questions around use cases, and that's what we kind of want to boil down a little here. So breaking it down kind of simply, and starting from the top, I want to explore Neo4j for low or no cost, right? I just want to get started, just want to use it. So what's the best option for me there, right? Anyone? So I'm an older guy now, so I remember this being my first kind of experience playing with video games. But these kind of video games that were just text-based, right? Text-based adventures. You know, exactly here you've got a number of options to take. And the point here was that if you took the wrong option, you either came to some sort of gnarly death and got eaten or something, or you got stuck and you had to then back your way out and come back to this position and say, okay, I went east last time, I'm going to go south in the next time, right? And it's kind of like the process that we see many customers taking, right? When they start with, I'm going to start with Neo4j for community, for example, because they said, I just want to kick the tires and I just want to get going. And then they get to a certain place and realize, actually, I need to back up and do something different. So, but community doesn't mean that community is the wrong place to start, and it could be the right place to start for many people. So let's look at Neo4j Community Edition. Is anyone using community in here? Did anybody start their Neo4j journey with community? Yeah, good. And how was your experience, sir? So far, so okay. That's a great answer. Thank you. So, so the first challenge you find is when you say, okay, start looking for community. Yes, exactly as the gentleman here said, you can go and find the tarball, launch an image, roll it yourself, which is a good way of doing it. But a lot of people will start launch an instance, right? In fact, even if you go down that path, the first place you start is to launch an instance. So very simply, you would say, I'm going to create my new instance. I'm going to call it Neo4j. I tell you what, right? AWS has this huge catalog of different AMIs or armies. Let's see if they've got one that I can use. So I'll go ahead and search there, right? In the AWS console, it puts what it considers the best stuff on the left-hand side, right? Quick start AMIs are those that are curated, managed, and maintained by AWS directly. About 46 of those or so. No hits for Neo4j in there. Nothing in my armies, of course. Whether I trust the images that I set up or not is up to me. I do get some hits in Marketplace, right? Interesting. And I'm going to come back to these. So there's some stuff there that none of that really kind of none of that's hitting me with Neo4j community. But I mean, clearly the sensible place to start then for me is I'm looking for Neo4j community is going to be in community armies. You can already see the problem here, right? For those that don't know, community armies in AWS are basically images that anybody can create, right? So I can create an image, I can add Neo4j community into it, I can add some Bitcoin mining into that as well, and I can then, that links back to my own Bitcoin wallet, and then publish it here and hope that lots of people run it, right? It's not strictly true because AWS do some limited scanning to try and stop Bitcoin mining specifically, but you could put nefarious things in that, right? So provenance of that image is relatively unknown for you. And you'll see that there's a lot of different things, right? It's very, very hard to be able to figure out which is the one that I should be using, right? And so that's a risk. And for that very reason, many enterprises will lock down community armies, so they'll prevent you, if you're doing this inside a responsible organization or some kind of regulated industry or something like that, you will not be able to launch either through policy or through enforcement from community armies. But because I know that you may want to try that, right? The way that you should do this is go and use the official edition, right? So Neo4j does publish an official community image. It's produced by the community team, publishes that in community armies. The trick here, though, is knowing the owner ID. Because once you know the owner ID, you can use this, by the way, this is in EC2 console. You can go and look at images and then armies. This is exactly where we are, right? And I've just put a couple of filters on here. One is the owner, right? The number, and this will be available for you certainly afterwards if you want that. But and then Neo4j community, so that we see that these are the community images. And you'll see there's many here. You still have to use some intelligence and brain, right? Because some of these are 3.x, 3.4, 3 or whatever that is end of life. You don't want to deploy those, so you go and pick the latest one. In this case, it is 4.4.3, which is actually not super recent. It's back from whenever January time. But you can go ahead and launch that, and we'll do that. So very, very quickly, Neo4j, go and pick a suitable key pair, by the way. Let's do that. Suitable image. Let's do that as an R6. That will do. And let's add that, add a new volume. Let's do. There we go. Go ahead and launch that instance. Right? So that's super, super simple, but you've got to know that magic number, and you've got to know to look for the owner ID that tells you this is actually from Neo4j and not from I'm going to robbyu.com or whoever it is that's published those images. Right? That's going to take a minute to fire up. The other way that you can do is it via a Docker image, right? And so, again, very, very simply go and have a look in Docker Hub. And then you'll find Neo4j, again, official. If we just skip back from that, search for Neo4j, you'll find, 1,359 results there. So again, so you need to make sure, provenance-wise, that you are picking one from a recognized entity, like not a recognized entity, from Neo4j. So we can, look in here, see that these are the official images that we published. Some of these was the latest one, updated 16 hours ago, you'll see, or a couple of days ago. And so these are well maintained. Again, because there's multiple versions, you'll need to ensure that you are launching the latest version. And you can do that, obviously, just straight in an instance, be it on AWS or on your laptop or wherever with Docker Run, or if you want to do more sophisticated things, like launching in Kubernetes, there are other ways which I'll come on to explain a little further on. With community, it's important to know that there are limitations, right? And this is, again, it comes down to, what do I want? What do I want to do with it? So Community Edition, it's great to get started, to get playing with it, to learn Cypher, those kind of things. But if you want to go into production in any kind of sort of mission critical sense or important sense, then certain things like being able to do online backups, encrypted backups, be able to do clustering for HA, those kind of things, right? Those are things you get with Enterprise, much harder to do without spending lots of time and therefore money to do that with community. And so as MySQL were famous for saying, you can spend money to save time, or you can spend time to save money. And we see in the vast majority of cases, we do see customers that went down community route and then stuck with community, but they had to spend an awful lot of time and effort building, clustering around it, managing their backups in same ways and those kind of things. So, but each to their own, and make choices based on what your needs and requirements are. Just flip back to the console, see how we're getting on. So we should see, yeah, that's initializing and come up. If I remember, and if I don't remember, remind me, I'll go back and flip, just so you can see that Neo4j is up and running in that. There are some other pitfalls, though, right? And you'll know that trolls, right? Trolls typically were nasty things that would sit under bridges and charge people money, right? So they take money for seemingly to cross a bridge, seemingly for something of relatively low value. And those trolls exist in AWS too. So, and again, we've seen quite a lot of this, is that there are folks that set up in AWS Marketplace. Anybody use Marketplace? Marketplace is good. It's great, but it does have its dangers, right? So go and have a look in Marketplace. Oh, there you go. See me practicing with Neo4j. We've got 29 results. That's great. But who are these guys, right? Well, this sounds good. It's got free trial. It's got product support. Sounds interesting. If I go and click on that. Okay, it's open source software. Sounds good. It's Neo4j. A couple of things that stand out immediately, though, if you know what you're looking for. One is that this is based on an old image, right? So it's based on Ubuntu 18.04. We don't know. It doesn't say what version of Neo4j it's running either, right? Ooh, it actually does, 4.4.3, but it's running on 18.04, which only has one year life before it goes end of life. But the important thing is here is that it's being paid for, right? It's chargeable. It's 1 cent an hour. What's that for? Because this is Community Edition, I can tell you, it's not Enterprise Edition, right? So you're paying for free software there, right? They say it's for support, but actually it's not support of Neo4j, it's support for the image, right? So you have problems with that image. If we go back here, you'll see that problem gets compounded by some other vendors that will charge you, in this case, 14 cents an hour, right? So which is roughly, what, $1,600, $1,700 a year to run free software, right? And it's not necessarily going to be provided with the same level of updates, and it's certainly not going to be supported in the same way. I mean, not that we would necessarily provide support for community, other than through the community forums. but you're not going to get any support on the database. So you're basically paying somebody because they snapshotted an image. Right? You may be okay with that, and I'm not necessarily poking at these guys, but just beware. Absolutely know of customers of AWS who've gone into Marketplace, who've launched images like this and had complete sticker shock at the end when they've been presented with the bill, like, why am I paying for free software? Right? So beware of this. AWS has done a reasonable job, though. They do tend to put this disclaimer at the front now, saying this is open source software and you're paying additional charges for support. They could probably be more aggressive in saying you're paying for free software when you don't need to, but whatever. So don't get tricked into paying for community if you're in Marketplace. There is a really easy option here, right? So if you just want to get started to play with Aura, you can use Aura free. Here the caveat though is that it's not currently on AWS. So that's on GCP. As we know, that's because my console login has timed out, as these things always do. There we go. So I won't step through this because you already saw it, I think, earlier on today, but super easy to go and to launch a new instance. You can only run one at a time, so I'd have to go and kill my existing instance and do that. I won't do it now, but it's super easy to go and launch a new instance, get access to it. It launches in about 3 minutes. And if you want to learn Neo4j, even offers you sample data sets when you go ahead, so you can start to run queries and play with the data, explore it in browser, etc. Right? So for many people, that's going to be, if you just want to play, that's going to be by far the easiest option and the way we'd recommend. It's not on AWS as yet, though. So if AWS is mandated, then you're going to have to explore these other routes. If you know you want Enterprise Edition, right? So you know that you want clustering, you want online backups, encrypted backups, you want constraints, those kind of things that you get with Enterprise over and above community. If you want to do it to build general purpose apps, then we have Neo4j Enterprise Edition, right? The best place to go and get that is from AWS Marketplace, despite me just saying how Marketplace had its challenges, right? For the Enterprise, it's absolutely the right place to go. So has anybody launched this from Marketplace, by the way? No? Good. So I will go and find in AWS Marketplace, go and find the Enterprise Edition. Let's get rid of that. So because I've done this before, I already have a subscription, right? So so you wouldn't ordinarily get that thing, but you'll get continue to subscribe. The important thing to notice here, so with Marketplace, you need to subscribe to a product. That basically means you're accepting the T's and C's. This Enterprise Edition, there's a couple of things that you should know. First is that it is delivered as a cloud formation template, right? Because it's enterprise, because it's clustered, it's going to give you, by default, 3 nodes. Here, so we can see fulfillment option, it's nice and recent, so it's 4.4.6, so it's been updated fairly recently. I'm going to just run it in US East because it's the simplest. Continue to launch. It's going to ask me a couple of questions. So down here, choose action. I want to launch with cloud formation. If I had set up a service catalog that would basically provide other templates to be able to do this, then I could use that. But I'm just going to launch cloud formation here. It's going to now take me into basically to create a stack, exactly that. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go quite quickly here, but it's going to ask me a number of different questions. If I have a graph data science license key, right, because I want to do GDS as well, I can put that in here. I am actually going to put that in because I do have one, because that will aid the last part of the demo. I need to set the password here. So by default, it's going to be clustered. So that will give me 3 nodes. In the interest of time and to be able to show you GDS at the end of this, I'm actually just going to specify 1, but it's still launching via the cloud formation template. You're going to have the, it's going to do it on a whatever, R6 X large, that will do. Disk size, pick my key pair. Here I want to basically set where I'm going to accept inbound traffic from. Don't do this. get your security folks to give you the right answer. Oh, there we go, DC demo. Or give a sane value for that, but again, in the interest of getting through the demo, we'll do that. So go ahead and that will go and launch me. Do that. Go and launch me stack. So this goes through a process where it's basically accepts all those parameters. It uses the CloudFormation template to create the stack, and then we'll start initializing the services. This takes about 3-4 minutes before we see it show up. We will see it actually in our EC2 instances when it comes up. So that's the community edition that we had a look at previously, that we launched previously. In there, we'll see the enterprise instances will start coming up in a minute. The other thing that you need to know about this is a BYOL product. So the licensing or the pricing for that, if we search for here again, just make the point because I should have made it earlier. On Enterprise Edition, you'll see it is 0 rated, right? No cost. That doesn't mean it's free. That means that you have already bought a license, right? So it's a BYOL product. If you haven't got a license, then you can always go and basically request one from us. So you can do that through the interface. I'll show you in a minute where you do that to go and request, and we can provide licenses for you. Right? And we do that via a private offer in the marketplace, and I'll show you that in a minute. The other way, of course, that you can do this would be with containers. So rather than using just a single Docker image, we produce, and the solutions team actually produce Helm charts. So Helm charts will go and get the enterprise, Neo4j Enterprise Edition containers from the right place, pull them down and launch them in a cluster configuration. So if that's the path you want to go down, which of course many of our customers do, including the example that Mark's going to talk about, then it's the absolutely the right way to do it. I'm not going to show you that because it takes way too long and I'm already over time. So that's the way to do it. If the other way that you can do this, of course, if you want to get started in AWS, is with Neo4j AuraDB Enterprise. It's our fully managed service offering, and that's again super simple. So you've got a couple of options. First is you can go for professional. Professional's not available in AWS just yet. Coming soon, coming very soon. So your option today really is enterprise. It's really designed for people to run in fully mission critical environments. It's fully isolated, so you're running your own VPC. You get a lot of flexibility. So when you are asking for that to be set up, you can quite a lot. You can request there. So you can even get a VPC private link set up as well, so you can run inside your own environment, etc. Right? The way that you want to do that, there we go, is in Marketplace. So that was this lost my train of thought. Back in here in Neo4j, back in Marketplace, so you want to go and find Aura, Neo4j Aura Enterprise, and you can. It has an example here, so you can buy Aura Enterprise with 32 gig of memory. It's got a 12-month contract with that. You can just go ahead straight away if you wanted to and purchase that, right? If that fitted your needs. And we have had customers that have come along and transacted directly through Marketplace, bought this, and then we fulfilled that. Much more common, though, actually, is people using this option, right? So you'll see for private offers or other needs, contact this address. And so, and this is absolutely the place I would recommend that you would start. So if you're interested in Aura, use this, the marketplace/sales at neo4j.com to get in touch with the team, and they will ask you, okay, what's your data set? What's your use case? What are your requirements around whatever availability, performance, et cetera, and then provide you with the right setup and the right instance. That's also the address to use if you want to run just regular Neo4j Enterprise Edition, and you haven't got a license, so that BYOL CloudFormation that is presumably setting up right now, you can also go and see that. You can use that same email address. See, that's up and coming. You can use that same email address to request to purchase licenses, and they'll give you a private offer to go and buy licenses through there. Let's flip back to here. And then the last place to go, the option is if you want to do data science, right? And I think after the demo this morning and some of the capabilities, I expect a lot of people want to start playing with that because it was super impressive. So if you want to do data science, then today in AWS, the place to start is with the Enterprise Edition. So just as I showed you, right, go and choose Enterprise Edition, the BYOL product, specify one node. You only ever want to use one node for data science, right? You probably want to have a bigger node, more memory, but you want to go and choose that one node, so you only want a single instance. And know that, again, it's unlicensed. So you'll need to buy a license to be able to use it, like you saw me input the license key in. So to be able to access and use the GDS libraries, you'll need to be able to, the DS libraries, you'll need to be able to have that license key and do that. How are we doing on time? Yep. Tell you what, I'm going to hand over to Mark. So I've been talking about this is how you get going, this is how you do it, in theory, based on your requirements. Mark's going to talk about a customer that's been through actually probably most of these options in their lifetime and now has settled, come to that, what they think is the best place. So hand over.
Get this back into slideshow mode here.
Sorry, I left it.
No, you're good. Yeah, so I want to talk to you guys about an actual customer experience that went through basically the same journey that Mark talked about. A large closed manufacturer, we're not allowed to give out the name, but they started their journey basically with a product exploration application that they hosted in Neo4j, and they ended their journey with 8 applications all running using similar architecture. So there's everything from a bill of materials application all the way out to a design management application. But when they started, they, like we've been talking about, they spun up an EC2 instance, they downloaded the jar, they installed Neo4j in it, and Neo4j has an option to use what they call unhandled extensions that'll basically allow you to expose HTTP endpoints. So it's like a cheap REST endpoint that you can embed right into the Neo4j process. And so since that was quick and easy, that was the way they went. They set up a 3-node cluster behind an API gateway, and they, with all applications, you've got your browser code that they hosted in S3 and simply exposed that S3 bucket as a web host. And then any images that they needed, they hosted on an internal server because they wanted to be secure. They didn't want anybody outside of the company to be able to see them. So the disadvantage of that, obviously, is that if the user is outside of the local network, they can't see the images. So you can kind of see in the footprint here that this was very easy to set up, very minimal infrastructure. They were using Okta, but it was only basic auth. And then the API gateway was just validating that was being sent through. So there's a relatively large customer internal network footprint and a relatively small web or cloud footprint, but it was quick to set up and easy for them to administer. The other thing is that they were using a local Oracle DB to populate data into Neo4j, and it was kind of a one-time, load CSV. There was no real-time interaction there. So if you fast forward 1 year, you can see some pretty significant changes here. The first thing that we did was we introduced CloudFront, which is kind of their AWS's gateway into all of the other features. What CloudFront does is that it allows you to set up origins, and so if a request comes in for a particular folder, you can route that to API gateway or you can route it to S3. But The most important thing there is it allows you to put a Lambda function in front of any of these requests, so that when a request comes in, you can then scour it for an authentication token and deny it, which is what they ended up doing with their images. They were now able to upload their images to S3, and using this JWT authorization and actually using a bearer token that's verified by Okta, now all of their images are secure, and people from anywhere on the internet who have a valid token can now see that image. The web content was the same, but now it's coming through a single CloudFront endpoint, so it gives you the appearance of a more a solid domain interface into it. And then the exact same JWT authorization is in front of the API gateway. So now we've gotten rid of basic authentication as our authentication method, and we're using JWT. Now, for the EC2 instances, we got rid of the unhandled extensions. And the main reason for that, and I should have mentioned this on the other slide, is that an unmanaged extension is just a jar file that's copied into a folder in the Neo4j structure. And if you need to make updates to that, say you find a bug and you want to fix it, you copy the jar file out there and you restart the cluster. And that takes 2 or 3 minutes. And so your app is down the entire time you're doing that. So the first thing we did was to move all of that functionality out to a Java Spring REST application that was still deployed alongside Neo4j. It's no longer running in the same process, but it's running on the same EC2 instances. And so from a deployment standpoint, it's still copying a jar out there, but you're just restarting the jar, and so it's only a couple of seconds of downtime instead of the minutes to restart the cluster. And then we also introduced using Kafka connector that some of the talks today were talking about, and using MSK within AWS to real time change data capture from their Oracle database and send it to another Java consumer that's running on those same EC2 instances. So you can see there's a much smaller footprint on the actual customer's internet, that we're just taking their line of business data and pumping it into the cloud. Now, some of the downsides to this are Neo4j is still running in EC2 instances. The customer's managing. They're managing upgrades. They're managing backups. If there's any problems with that, they're on the hook to get in there and figure out what's going on. So the next and final stage is to introduce Neo4j Aura. So we moved all of the data that was running in Neo4j on those EC2 instances out to Neo4j AuraDB Enterprise. And what that did was it freed us up. We no longer need EC2 instances. But so in the process of that, instead of having EC2 instances simply to host a jar file so that we can have the API gateway, we moved all of those things into Docker containers that are being managed by Kubernetes. There's a process for moving the data from your EC2 instance of Neo4j into the Aura database. It's push to cloud. You basically, once you've done that, you just shut down your EC2 instance. You don't need it anymore.
So there is some automation.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and so then the advantage of Kubernetes, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, is that it's basically managing all of your containers. And so from a deployment standpoint, when we make changes to the code, say we make a change to one of the REST APIs, we've got CI/CD that's running that builds a new container with that new jar file in it, and then we simply run a kubectl command. If anybody's familiar with Kubernetes, it's basically telling Kubernetes to deploy this new image. And it goes out and makes sure that that image spins up. You can have testing against that so that it doesn't actually think it's ready until, say, a particular port starts responding with the 200. And once that happens, it puts that container into load and then terminates the old container. So you get an immediate switch from the old code to the new code, and there's no downtime whatsoever. And that is literally just a command line, kubectl, deploy this file, and it does all that for you. So now that we have Kubernetes cluster and we've moved our our Java APIs in there, we also created a Node.js GraphQL API, and that opens us up to be able to start, doing React UIs, iOS, desktop. This customer now has applications running on each one of those. And then the obvious advantage to moving to Neo4j Aura is they're taking care of the backups. You can go to the console and you get a snapshot every hour. This actually happened for this customer that something had happened in production and a bunch of data got messed up. And we were able to quickly go to the console, click on the snapshot that was 2 hours old and restore it. And they were back in working condition within a matter of minutes. So yeah, no backups, you don't have to deal with the upgrades. All of that is being taken care of, as well as the monitoring itself. There's on the dashboard, you have all kinds of graphs that show you what's going on. And this was asked of me earlier, if you're having a problem, create a support ticket right there from the same console, and you get access right into the support team to help you figure out what's going on. And that's it for me.
So I think before we jump into summary and close, a couple of things, and Mark reminded me. So a couple of things I wanted to show you. So both of these, hopefully, these instances that we got going are now running. And if we're going to check, let's go and check the first one. So there's a couple of things I wanted to show you. The public IP address, let's go and grab that. And then go and jump in. And so I'm in the right place. You can see that. I think it's going to be that. I'll find out if I got the right one anyway. So this is the community image, right? I know that because the community image is based on Ubuntu, right? So the fact that we've gone in there, I should have tagged it a little more obviously when I set it up. The first thing you'll see is that obviously because it's a couple of months old, there's some updates that need applying to that, but I won't worry about it just now. But we can start with Neo4j start, or even. Again, you shouldn't do this, but so if we get that up and running, there is, and I'm just showing you this to make a point, is that by default, certain things you'll need to go and figure out on the community edition, right? So some of the permissions, bits and pieces. In my experience of playing with it, there's bits that need to go and figure out and do that, but. None of that is particularly complex. The difference, of course, is if we then flip back and have a look at the other instance, the one that's been set up via the CloudFormation template. We've got our public IP address here. First thing that we'll notice from that is it's based on Amazon Linux, so it's slightly different. This we should be able to go straight in because all the parameters have been set up by CloudFormation, so it's done all of that work for you, setting all the permissions and all the users and everything. And if I can remember the right password. Yeah, so we're in there. I'm just going to go and cheat because typing is hard when people are watching. If we just go and grab this from that. It's also installed the GDS libraries too. So like I was saying, if you want to be able to get going with GDS, you can use the Enterprise Edition. Again, you'll need to buy a license if you don't have one already, but it will install the GDS libraries. These are actually a little out of date, so you might want to update those. But that's certainly, if you want to start with it, it's a good place to start. And then, let's get back to here. So to kind of summarize, I think if you want to get started with AWS, easier said than done, but know what you want, right? Know what your end goal is and know what your objective is. So this will help you basically go down the right place, down the right tunnel, and not have to come back or meet anything ugly along the way, right? And so if that's just kicking the tires, getting started, for most people that's going to be Aura free. If you just want to have a play, might be community. If you've got licenses spare, then by all means use Enterprise. If you know Enterprise, this is something that's going to be in production, then Enterprise is going to be the right answer, be that self-managed or be it in Aura. Know the real costs involved, right? So AWS, hugely powerful. It also can be very complex to manage. And so having somebody else create the Helm charts and provide those for you can really help you get there. And we do that as part of the solution team. Using the CloudFormation templates that the solution team provide, again, makes life a lot easier for you. You can, of course, customize those to your own needs. You can then snapshot the images with additional tools or whatever it is that you need within those. But it gives you a real head start. To build all of that from scratch and then manage and maintain it can often be expensive in the long run. This part I really can't sort of underline enough. Is just know what you're using, right? So the gentleman that built his own images, great, knows what's in them, right? Hopefully. But if you are just grabbing something from wherever you find it in AWS, make sure it's from an official Neo4j account. So in the marketplace, make sure it's from our account. And if you're looking in community armies, you're going to have to use the publisher ID, right? And that's actually quite hard to find. And the general catch-all is know who to contact. So if ever you get stuck, of course, by all means use Google, but come and contact us, marketplace-sales at Neo4j, because that gets into the AWS team that will then point you in the right direction.